All right, you know when people move out of New York, they say, boy, I miss the city, but I don't miss winter. Well, today is one of those winter days they're talking about. Nevertheless, we're going to take a city bike from the Upper East Side through Central Park. Then we're going to bike down to Hudson Yards, and then we're going to walk the High Line. City bike really is pretty psychotic. There's just too many people, too many cars, delivery trucks all competing for the same amount of space on city roads. And then the city bike's got the right of way as people on your right are taking left turns in cars. Pretty crazy. This has always been such a cool, magical little corner of New York for me ever since I moved here. I can remember the day I found my first apartment, walking across town and just being like, holy crap, this is where John and Yoko lived. It's so incredible. Then later, this was where we would walk our daughter on the way to her preschool, which was always fun. We'd go listen to the Beatles singers at Strawberry Fields after school. And of course, John Lennon himself, just such an incredible hero. A reminder of a time when fame and actual talent were so much more linked than they are these days. Anyway, let's keep moving. Next stop, the High Line. God, it is so cold today as we're cutting down Columbus on the way to the High Line, but it's pretty wild. I wanted to stop here for a second. This is the old ABC7 Broadcast Center where they used to do the news out of. They moved to a different location, and boy, they wasted no time ripping this old facility down. I'm sure it's just going to be some other mega skyscraper, high-rise, $20 million apartments, but I can't help but laugh thinking about all the times, you know, you'd watch Howard, see Joey Boots, Marianne from Brooklyn, run in and bust up the live shots yelling Baba Booey. Baba Booey! 25 years of Baba Booey! Good stuff, fun memories. It's all over, though. This building's pretty much toast. Here, 34th and 10th, and we're gonna go check out the High Line. Should be empty because God knows this is not an amazing day to be outside, but we're on it. The city bike isn't docked again. Ay with this. All right, I gotta do a better job checking it before I leave. Sure seemed docked to me, but apparently it's not. All right, so here we are, 31st and 10th. We're gonna enter the High Line by the big giant pigeon, and we'll walk on down, and it takes us all the way down to 14th Street, I think. This is pretty cool. Up close, it's so big. The lowly New York pigeon elevated. A lot of times these public art projects are hit or miss, mostly miss, but I guess people love this one. It is pretty cool seeing it up close. So this right here, this is the Hudson Yards development, the vessels, that bronze colored thing you see in front of me. All of this was basically made possible in a lot of ways by the High Line. This totally rejuvenated this area, which had just been abandoned, sort of run down. West Side, that was not known as a particularly desirable area by the Hudson River, but you can see entirely new life after this development. Obviously, the city and state helped too, but pretty cool down here. Basically, they dropped a brand new entire part of the city right down here by the High Line. This is me, just in case you didn't recognize me all bundled up, but as I figured, we pretty much got the place to ourselves today. It's a great day to explore. This has always struck me as a particularly cool looking building right here. This is actually a fascinating little insight. You've got this really cool, expensive residential building on my left, and then right past it is Scores. Scores, man, it's about meeting guys, about meeting girls. The great Ronnie Mund. But the real point of that story, beyond giving Ronnie Mund a shout out, is that shows you sort of the old neighborhood, because in Giuliani's New York, you really couldn't put a strip bar pretty much anywhere. It had to be really on the outskirts of town, which this definitely was before the High Line came along and made this so desirable. And here's the actual old elevated train line. That's how this whole thing started. This was an abandoned railway, which like 100 years ago, they took the train tracks on the ground and then they put it up so it'd be less dangerous. This is a very busy commercial part of the city. And then, of course, the subway eventually went underground. So this was just lying here abandoned, and they were about to demolish it. And then that's when they decided, late 90s, early 2000s, that it was worth preserving. A bunch of people got together, worked with the city, and that's now what has become the High Line. It is pretty cool. One thing that's interesting, I feel like this opened shortly before I moved here, which was almost 15 years ago at this point. And there definitely used to be much better views of the city. But then sort of it did what it was meant to do, and it drew a lot of developers down here. And now you're boxed in when you walk on the High Line because they've had all these high-rise apartment buildings spring up around it. So sort of a victim of its own success in one way, but still such a cool part of the city. Really fun to be down here. This is one of my favorite parts. Sort of opens up in the middle, got a little more room around here, and you can also see more of the abandoned train tracks, of course, which were the origin of this whole thing to begin with. This is another really cool building here. The architecture, really very interesting, high-end, modernist types of buildings down here. And then you've also got the old apartments, hey there, that just happen to be here. Right place, right time, I guess. Look at this. This was nothing special, I'm sure, this brick building we're looking at back in the day, but then they threw this up and suddenly this is prime property. Pretty wild. This is the intersection of 10th and 23rd, and way off in the distance I can actually see the Chelsea Hotel. One thing before I forget too, if you are down in this area, you have to check out the Edge at Hudson Yards. The view from up there is just out of this world. No matter how much you've internalized that New York City is the biggest city in the country, it looks so much bigger when you're that high up. You can see the observation deck jutting out from the top of the building again. The views from up there are just spectacular. Can't miss if you are in the city. And since all New York is basically just an object lesson in the value of space, check this out. Parking garage where they stack the cars using these car elevator things, 4 high. Pretty wild.
Stop.
All right, this is the view looking straight up 10th Avenue at the corner of West 17th. And then when you turn around the other direction facing south, looking down 10th Avenue, this is a pretty crazy view too. Way off in the distance. Unfortunately, I'm as zoomed in as I can be, but I can see the Statue of Liberty right in the center of the image. Amazing stuff. This is such a cool area. It's so great they brought this back to life. Best part of this whole thing is that this dumps out in Chelsea Market. So we're gonna warm up, get some coffee, get some food, take a look at the video. But this is always such a great place. If you're ever in the city, definitely worth checking out. If you live here and you haven't been down here in a while, it's always worth coming and seeing what's new. And of course, if you are visiting, I would definitely put this at the top of the list of things you gotta check out. Or if you're in New York for fish at New Year's and when they play here in the summer, this is where I send my friends down to stay in the meatpacking district. A lot more going on in this part of the world than staying in a tiny hotel by MSG, which is a really undesirable neighborhood overall. So really cool stuff here. You start at 31st, Hudson Yards, connects all the way down to the meatpacking district, and you end up in Chelsea Market, and also right behind me here too. This is City Island. This is this brand new man-made island that just opened to the public a couple years ago. Pretty cool.